Did anybody else see the moon a couple of nights ago? It was amazing. It's always I've always been captivated by the night sky and imagining all that might be out there. What is out there? Well, those of us who grew up in the 1960s, I was just an infant then, but yeah. But you'll remember during those years, we humans were fascinated with space exploration. So when in 1966 came the legendary Star Trek TV show, we kids, yes, and even some adults, were glued to our TVs. We loved all the scenes of the Starship Enterprise traveling at warp speed and the fantastic ways of getting from one place to another in the transporter. Remember Beam Me Up, Scotty? Yeah. We've learned so very, very much since then. And honestly, I think space travel for many of us has become a little passé. I mean, we hardly even watch when a rocket's going to take off anymore. We take it for granted. But let me tell you, when Apollo 11 lifted off the Earth on July 16, 1969, headed for the moon, the world was awestruck. I mean, think for a moment about a rocket sitting on a launch pad. It's towering, it's loaded with potential, it's taken months and months and maybe even years to construct, all for this one moment, the liftoff. But the launch isn't just about the moment the engines ignite. There are thousands of steps that come before that fiery rise into the sky. Technicians spend countless hours checking and rechecking systems, running diagnostics, and then the constant communication with ground control. But then comes the countdown, you know it, T-minus 10, 9, 8, and the world holds its breath as the countdown approaches 1, and then liftoff. And with great power, the rocket burns 90% of its fuel just to break from the Earth's atmosphere. It's incredible. That moment, the launch, is the most energy-intensive part of the entire mission. And at that moment, everyone claps, everyone high-fives and celebrates. Why? Because all of their preparation made the liftoff successful. But here's what's easy to miss. The liftoff is just the beginning of the journey, and the preparation is not just for that moment, but for the mission that lies ahead. Welcome to week 1 of our series called The Other 167. And no, it's not about space travel, but it is about an important preparation time in each of our weeks. We know this is a bit of a strange title, but its meaning is rooted in the idea that there are 168 hours in a week. And if I asked you which hour of your week was the most important, you would probably have to stop and give it a little thought. Was it at work? No. At home? Was I doing something I loved? Was it something I accomplished? You'd have to give it a little thought. But what if I told you that the most important hour of the week wasn't in the middle or at the end of your week, but at the beginning of the other 167? Truth is that for our spiritual lives, many of us have carved out this time, this one precious hour on Sunday, as our God time. And that's beautiful. It's sacred. It's important. It's our opportunity to stop and worship in the midst of our busy, chaotic, priority-filled week. And how do we define worship? Well, the dictionary says worship is an act of religious devotion, typically directed towards a deity or God, involving reverence, honor, and adoration. I think we get that. And we understand this is worship. But here's what we want to challenge you with in this new sermon series. What if the real worship begins when you leave this building? In other words, this hour isn't the end of your worship, it's the spark. It's the liftoff or the launch pad that springboards you on for the other 167 hours that follow. This is the moment where we reset our hearts, recenter our focus, and realign with God to live worshipfully through every part of our lives in the other 167. So that means this time is very important. It's crucial. And today we're going to talk about why this hour matters and how it prepares us to worship God in the rest of our life, in our jobs, our relationships, our choices, and in our service toward one another. Because worship is not just 1 hour on Sunday. It's not just singing praise songs or a great sermon. Worship is a way of life. And that means for you and me, the gathering is how I prepare for worship. So let's talk about not only what we do when we gather, but more importantly, why we do what we do here when we gather. Starting with understanding this. We gather together to prepare my heart. Look at that. It may not look grammatically correct, but it's true. The writer of Hebrews tells us about this. Listen to this powerful instruction. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Notice the scripture doesn't say go to church to check a box. It doesn't say show up for an hour and feel religious. And it doesn't say anything like that. It says don't give up meeting together. Why? Why? Because you need this. And there is no this unless there is we. Does that make sense? We need this and we need each other, not just for comfort or for routine, but because we're forgetful, because we drift, we get distracted, we get busy, and we easily lose perspective. The author of Hebrews is writing to a group of people who were feeling the pressure of the world around them. Some were pulling away from their community of faith. Some were sliding into spiritual isolation. And can you believe it? Others were falling into cultural traps. I mean, can you imagine falling into traps of culture? What was wrong with them? You hear my sarcasm, right? We are no different than they are. It's still easy to get lost and distracted and wander away from meeting together because we're humans. But here's the truth, and we need to understand this. We cannot live out our faith alone, and we were never meant to live out our faith alone. When we gather like this right now, something deeply formational happens, and it's happening right now. And within this shared experience, our hearts are recentered. We remember who God is. And we are reminded that the God who created the galaxies is almighty beyond our imagination, and yet he knows my name, and he knows yours. This is a call of remembrance that we are his beloved. We are his called. We are forgiven and sent people. So a fun description of our gathering is a phrase, holy huddle. And yes, I know it sounds cheesy, but work with me here, because there's something deeply meaningful about this idea. So think about it like this, holy huddle. Before you step onto the field of life, before you step into the mess and motion of your week, you are invited to gather with your team. Here we metaphorically lock arms. We hear the plays called, and we are reminded of the goal. Here, your heart is focused so that when you step out there, you're ready. The huddle. Now, I did not write that illustration. That came from one of the gentlemen on the team. But we understand the strength in a team. We understand needing to get our heads together and encourage each other and be sent out. The huddle is also unique in that here is where the body of believers practice the rituals that Jesus taught us to do together, baptism and communion. We call them sacraments, which means when we practice them, we're connected with God's love and grace in a mysterious and remarkable way. Sometimes we're in this space, a church, and sometimes other places. But these two things are always done when we're together. Baptism. Of course, we celebrated baptism today. And I love saying we celebrated it. It's a celebration. A time when we receive new members into the family of God, whether the person makes a vow for themselves or the parents of a child make a vow on their behalf, we welcome them, and then, as we did today, the congregation makes a vow to be that community of faith for them. No matter their age, we make a promise to mentor and love them in faith. In communion, we celebrate and eat the bread and drink the juice to celebrate the life and death of Jesus for our salvation and for the life-changing transformation he wants to do in us. Jesus told his disciples to do this and remember him, and to remember the power we have together when we let him fill us and live in us. So you see, the huddle, the gathering, is not the end game, not the goal. This moment is not the destination or the checked box. It's the preparation. Because worshiping together here trains my heart to worship God when I'm alone out there. When it's Monday morning and the kids are screaming. When it's Wednesday and the pressure at work feels crushing. When it's Friday night and I'm fighting loneliness or temptation or just plain exhaustion. That's what the writer of Hebrews is getting at. We meet together not just to sing and then sit and listen. We meet to spur one another on. And that happens in many different forms of Christian community, not just here. Community is found in small groups during the other 167 hours. Shameless plug from the small group director. But hey, that's what it's all about. Is taking the encouragement we receive here and going out and letting God affect our study, our life, our decisions, our relationships. This hour does not contain our worship. It exists, this exists to ignite it. Worship is not just what we do when the band plays. Worship is how you respond to God in your every decision, every relationship, every moment. So like a coach, let me give you a pep talk. Don't underestimate this moment. Don't treat it like an obligation to check off. Treat it like the countdown. Believe that through you, when you step outside these doors, the world is about to see Jesus. The gathering prepares my heart for that and for an entire week of worship in my life. Preparing my spirit. Music is a huge part of worship, and there's a purpose in the music. We sing together to prepare our spirits. I love music, and I love to sing. In fact, my mother used to say that I sang before I spoke. And I don't know what that means, but my first memory of being in church is being waist high in between my big sisters who were singing, "Holy, Holy, Holy." And I believe that is exactly what heaven was going to sound like. I love music. The Apostle Paul says it like this in Colossians. He says, "Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him." Have you ever woken up with the song stuck in your head? Maybe it's a random pop song you woke up repeating and wondered, why is that in there? Or have you ever heard someone humming or whistling a song and then it gets stuck in your head? What is up with that? But it happens to us all. And I do this all the time with worship songs, and I love it. If I wake up with a worship song in my head, I immediately find it on my Spotify playlist and play it. I figure I must need to hear it. We just did a new song a few weeks ago, and there it was, playing in my head over and over in my subconscious. And without realizing it, it was still echoing from Sunday. And when that happens, it's not coincidental. That's spiritual formation. And that's what Paul is talking about here in Colossians. God uses music to shape his people, to strengthen us, and to remind us of what is true. When we sing lyrics like, "You are faithful," or "You never fail" on a Sunday, it may just feel like a response in the moment, but it's more than that. It's preparation. Because you might not know it yet, but Wednesday's coming, right? And when it does, and the bottom falls out, or when the doctor calls, or the stress hits, or doubt creeps in, you need something to hold on to. You need truth that has already been planted in your spirit. And that's why we sing. Worship today is strength for tomorrow, and it's not hype. It's not just emotional, it's spiritual training. We sing, and the truth goes deeper. We sing, and gratitude grows. We sing, and the Spirit is stirred within us. Because you might not always have a Bible in your hands when you need it, but you may remember that line from the chorus that is the anchor of truth you need. That's how music works. God wired it that way to bypass our defenses and lodge truth in the deepest part of our spirit. So when we sing together, we're not just filling time before the message. We're aligning ourselves with God's heart. We're tuning our spirits to his voice. We're letting the message of Christ dwell for the days ahead. So in just a moment, we're going to sing a song in the middle of the message that gives voice to this truth. This isn't just a musical break. It's spiritual preparation. You've sung this song before if you're a regular worshiper here. So let these lyrics wash over you. Let them plant truth deep in your spirit. And as we sing, allow God to strengthen you, not just for this moment, but for the moments that lie ahead. Let's stand, and the worship team will lead us.
Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense, so I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I built my life on Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful in every season. So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus, 'cause he's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would he fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through. Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through.
Is that your testimony today, that he won't fail? Or maybe you really needed to hear that this morning to be reminded. Why don't you have a seat? Let's hang on to what we just sang, because that truth isn't just meant for this room. It's meant for your real life. And that's what singing together does. It prepares your spirit to carry Christ's peace, his word, his promises, into every hour of your week. So the next time a worship song gets stuck in your head, don't roll your eyes or try to change the station. Thank God, because he's preparing you. He's inviting you to join him in the chorus of his song. And finally, for this morning, we gather to set my spiritual rhythm. Notice carefully these words in Luke about Jesus. Luke says, Jesus returned to Galilee in the power of the Spirit, and news about him spread through the whole countryside. He was teaching in their synagogues, and everyone praised him. He went to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And on the Sabbath day, he went into the synagogue, as was his custom. Did you catch that? Jesus, the Son of God, had a rhythm. Luke doesn't say he went to the synagogue once in a while, and he doesn't say he went when he felt like it or when his schedule was free. Luke is intentionally telling us something here that should not be overlooked. He didn't just record Jesus' teaching and performing miracles. He specifically points out that Jesus went to the synagogue as was his custom. In other words, it was his rhythm, his routine, his way of life. Now think about that. If Jesus, who had the perfect connection with the Father, still made it a priority to gather regularly with others in worship, how much more do we need it? We all live by rhythms. The rhythm of your work week, the rhythm of school, the rhythm of emails and meetings and soccer practice, and on and on and on it goes. Everything about us is set to a rhythm. And here's something we often just don't realize until we feel it. That when we miss the gathering, we're not just missing a service, we're disrupting our spiritual rhythm. It's like starting a race without stretching or beginning a road trip without checking the map. You can still go, you can still move, but you're more likely to pull something or drift off course. When we skip this moment, when we put gathering together on the back burner, we don't just break a streak. We cheat ourselves. We miss the recalibration our souls desperately need. We miss the encouragement from others that we didn't even know we needed. It's wonderful to have online option when we're sick or on vacation. And it's also a great way to invite people to check out who we are. We're so glad you're with us. But please don't forget the purpose is to gather. We hope you can be here soon to meet together and to sing and learn and be sent out and encouraged and strengthened. God isn't keeping attendance. God doesn't want to guilt you, and neither do we. But God is inviting you into a rhythm that sustains you, because spiritual rhythms are essential. This moment sets a rhythm so that when other noise hits, and it will, you're not thrown off beat. The gathering is how I prepare for worship. We gather together to prepare my heart, to prepare my spirit, to set my rhythm. Those aren't the only reason this exists. There are so many more elements of our gathering that matter. We're just touching on these three today. But yes, this hour matters, not just for Sunday It's your Monday through Saturday too. This hour is a gift from God to reset your soul, realign your purpose, refocus your heart. So when you show up here every Sunday, every gathering, don't just come to check a box. Come like a rocket, being prepped for liftoff. Be ready to be filled, challenged, and sent. Show up expectant, believing that God will meet you here and speak to you. Show up knowing that this is not the end, but the beginning, the launch pad, the countdown, the spark. 1 hour down, 167 to go. To worship God. Worship's a lot of things, and there's a lot of ways that we worship, a lot of worship songs and music. Today we want to close with a song that reminds us the heart of worship, reminds us why we're here, and we hope this will soak in and reignite your worship experience.